Gena, Coco, Gena, Coco, Gena, Coco, Gena, Sanbonian, Yemo, Sanbonian, Yemo, Sanbonian, Yemo, Sanbonian, Yemo.
Hey everybody. This is Palesa.
Hello.
Hi. So we're all slowly coming in, which is awesome. I'm so excited to see and meet everybody. Hey Hallie. Hey Katya.
Hey P.
I'm just gonna try and see who's on here now already. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Okay, awesome. We're almost all here, which is really rad.
Hey.
This is such an esteemed group of individuals. It's very cool. I'm very excited. I'm going to jump in because I'd like for us to use as much of this time as we can. This is very rare. And of course, okay, ready. And I want to use up all the time that we have. We do have a few people joining us online. I think some people are joining via a YouTube link, and others are actually with us through the event. So I'm going to start. I think I should hand over to Hallie and Julie first, I think. Excellent.
So cool to see everybody here. So I'm Hallie and I work with Katya and Hallie on the South African chapter of Girls in Film. And I think I work as a film director and a creative strategist. And as a strategist, I'm really focused on building community and audience building. So it's really cool to do that in the context of Girls in Film, because I think that's a really big part of having a sustainable artistic practice, is figuring out how to build a community and leverage that. And that's what we're trying to do, is make that more accessible to a broader spectrum of people, because the film industry can be a little bit smoke and mirrors if you don't have somebody to guide you. And so, yeah, that's what we're hoping to achieve. And this event is just the first of many, hopefully in-person events in the future. And if there's anyone in our community that can think of how we could be of benefit to South African filmmakers, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us or reach out to us over Instagram. And please look into the filmmakers that we featured on the panel. They're all really incredibly talented and their work is totally worth spending time reviewing. Cool. Thanks, Palesa. I'll hand over to Katya, I think.
Hey everyone. Welcome, welcome. It's so exciting to be here and to see all these beautiful faces. And for the rest of the attendees that we can't see, I know that you're beautiful too. But yeah, so I'm Katya. I'm one of the, I guess, ambassadors for South African Girls in Film. We're so excited to have finally kicked off the South African chapter of Girls in Film, because we all know that it's time. And I mean, just building on what Hallie said, this is really a space where we can begin from this event moving forward to just open up doors, share learning, share knowledge in a way that we've, never been able to do before. I know when I was starting out a few years ago, I would have loved to have something like this where I could just ask people questions. I could just, pick on people's brains, pick on people's experience. And I mean, we all kind of, I'm sure, have done what we've done in magical ways, but I think looking back, we can always say it would have been great to have had a mentor or someone to ask questions or someone to share your insecurities or fears with, or just, get contacts from, whatever it may be. So there's a lot that we're hoping to develop with this space. Like Hallie said, it's very much about a dual, mutually beneficial, open relationship. So for everyone who's tuning in, thank you. You are as much part of building this as we are. And yeah, I don't want to say too much more, just thank you for being here. I hope everyone really enjoys this space, takes from it what they need. And yeah, make connections. And I know this is going to be the start of hopefully a lot of great learning and connection and community. So thank you for being here. And I think we will hand over to Palesa, our lovely host.
Hey everyone, I'm going to say hello to our panelists and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing the time with us. We can't be together in space, so I guess time has become space now in our present sort of moment, and so this is really, really appreciated. This gathering of people is quite esteemed, where it's people from South Africa, from Johannesburg. I think, Cait, you're in Cape Town. There are people from the UK. I think I haven't mentioned where everybody is. I think there's people from Lagos, or panelists from Lagos. So this is kind of almost, I guess, would have been physically more demanding to put together, but because of the present time, it's kind of like we're leaning into the restrictions of our present experience, and really, so this is a beautiful thing. I'd like to take some time to introduce all our panelists. I won't take too long, and I'll let everyone also have a moment to speak about what we will look at. I think this is how we'll go, Julie. Just let me know in the chat if I'm misstating how we will shape everything. And I'm going to do it by alphabetical order. Okay, I got a yes. I'll do it by alphabetical order, just so there's simplicity. And I'm going to start with Jen. Jennifer, is it okay if I call you Jen? Just say, no? Okay, so I'm going to start with you, Jen.
Yes, it's fine.
Hey. Awesome. Good to meet you. Jen, you're with Anti-Design, and if you want to look them up, they're under whatisanti.com, and they're a collective of artists who specialize in production design and creative direction and art direction. And I think the words that I picked up from reading about your work is visual awareness, fresh eyes, adaptability, and cultural relevance. So you're very much about designing kind of the spaces and visually what we see. And you had a hand in Black is King. I can't wait to speak a bit more about that. Burna Boy's work, you've worked with Davido, you've worked with Tiwa Savage. That's exciting. I'm interested in what you'll show us today in the panel. Yeah?
Okay, so basically, wait, what did you say?
I am saying if you could let us know what you're going to show us, and so that we can prime the audience, and you can let us know what we're about to see.
Oh, okay. So basically, I think it's from Lizard. So we did a short film called Lizard. We were production designers for that. It was shot in Lagos. It was really, really nice because it was like an independent small film, and it's really doing like well in like the circuits now, in like the festivals now. Like it's getting very good response. So we're really proud to have this coming out of Nigeria, because like we're like, especially Pablo and I, we're really trying to like push this like narrative. Do you get what I mean? Because of like, there's so many good stories here in Africa that we need to get out there. So that's what we basically did. So yeah, it's I think it's Lizard, right? Like you guys are you guys showing that? Okay. Because we've done so many different things. And like, I hope that's the one you picked. Oh, you're muted.
Please excuse me. I'm just saying I'm gonna catch everyone out.
What thing you define for there? You this girl.
It is okay to be angry.
So yeah, we're super proud of that one.
That's awesome. We can't wait to speak a bit more about it, but thank you so much. I'm going to move on to Tytiah. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Hey, Miss Tytiah.
Hey, yeah, it's Tytiah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I work in casting, based in London, and all my work is about representation, authenticity, bringing people in to things that wouldn't usually make it on screen. I work across like film, photography, special projects. Yeah.
Thank you. And will you comment on what we're about to see or what you shared with us?
Sure. So this is a snippet from WATA, which is a short that I cast earlier this year. It's quite special. It's like a super niche cast. So all of the cast are dancers, all of the cast are Black, and all of the cast, yeah, they're all based in London. It was quite special to me to put together because I really love dance. I also had to find people that were comfortable in water and swimming and stuff. So that was like a challenge, but really like cool to put together, and an amazing team and stuff involved.
That's rad. Thank you. Thank you, Tytiah. I'm going to move on to Talya, Galasko. You're coming from you're with us from Cape Town.
Yes.
Awesome. Please introduce yourself. This is actually working out better.
Oh, damn. I actually was hoping for questions.
Just tell us a bit more about yourself. Yeah.
So I'm a director based in Cape Town. I'm represented at Sketchbook Studios. I do my commercial work through there in South Africa. And in Germany, I'm represented at Osterliebe Films. And I think the reason I was asked to speak on the panel today is because of the short film work that I've done. Short films are always the work that gets you more work, you know, the passion projects that you put your time into, much more than the commercial stuff. And I'm actually realizing that maybe the stuff I sent through is a bit long, because I did a short film this year called Interlude, which I shot during lockdown, and then another short film about gender-based violence called Hush. But maybe they're too long to show in the space of this call. So, Palesa, I'm not sure if you want to just show the Hush one, or how you want to go about it.
I think we'll probably show a bit of Hush, and if it's not, then we'll catch everyone up as to what it was on the chat.
Cool.
Awesome, thank you.
Coursing through your veins every night. Big wide world. How I miss you. I think of all the places I have been. From my house to the shops and back again. And that one time to Portugal and Spain, where I saw a field of orange trees, an old woman with scarves tied around their necks. I'll go back there again when this is over and greet these women, instead of refusing their offer to pour me some juice and rub my feet.
It looks like...
I was telling you about my beard, bro. I think it's coming along great, eh?
I think it is over here, I can see for sure.
No, I'm talking about the whole thing, please, man. Dude, you lucky. You don't have any expectations, you know what I'm saying? Mine is like, like literally, bro. It's like the blue balls of beard, bro. Like literally. Oh, Mr. Bitches. Mr.
You, no, wait, you just stuck with that one little girl.
Gents, Sister Wifey, I'll be back.
So I'm gonna see you later.
I know you want to see me, though.
Who are you trying to go through with? It's your girls, Destiny's Child or whatever. Girls, how are you gonna dance tonight? How are you gonna dance tonight? Show us. Ooh, girl! Look at that girl! Come, save it for later, save it for later.
You're gonna cook later.
Cucumber.
I really don't trust you.
Nah, I'm gonna Google.
You know I spoil you every day, though.
I don't know about that.
So what's today?
Seduce your girl's son. Think through. I didn't want to.
Okay, so I just wanted to make a comment. Should have disclaimed from the beginning, sorry. So the first, those are two separate short films. And it's like, what? Why is she on the panel? The first one is from the short film Interlude, and then the second one, Hush, is a short film about gender-based violence. And both of them are just excerpts from the film. So yeah, can chat a little bit more about it later.
Cool, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for making it clear. I just want to say that there'll be links to the works that have been shared by the panelists for the attendees. And now I want to move on to Cait, Pansegrouw. Hey, Cait. You're coming to us from Cape Town.
I am. Hi, Palesa. So nice to see you.
Yes, it's been a bit of a while. I'd like to maybe ask you to please introduce yourself and speak about what you'll be showing us. I think we'll be watching a trailer from one of your most recent films.
Yes. So I'm a producer based in Cape Town, South Africa, and my production company is called Uruku. We are an independent film production company. We are focused on independent cinema that is bold and provocative. We predominantly work with authors. Our work is very author-driven, so we work with auteurs mainly. And some of our films that you may have heard of are Necktie Youth, Ingleba, The Wound, and most recently, This Is Not a Burial, It's a Resurrection, which is the trailer you're going to see now. And Nao, who's also on the panel with us, was the costume designer. Hi, Nao, on the film. And I'm very proud to say this is the first film from Lesotho made by a Lesotho filmmaker ever in Sesotho language. We premiered in Sundance this year, where we won the jury award for visionary filmmaking and have gone on to win 20 other international awards. And most recently, we were able to release the exciting news that this is Lesotho's first ever submission for the Oscars for Best International Film. So I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Bari Hallie Katya tsebe mobung wa Nazareta o tla ikutlwela dillo le ditshebo tsa bafu ba nyametse ke dihohola meya ya bona e hua botibong.
This is also the trailer we'll use to introduce Nao, Serati. But I'd like you to speak a bit more about the work that you did on the film and also what you do.
Hello, everyone. I am Nao Serati Mufamere. I am a stylist and I'm a designer. And being a designer has led me to be a costumer for really exciting work like Burial that you guys just saw. And yeah, I'm really nervous. I'm not really sure what to say. I think that's where I'm from Joburg. Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining the discussion. I'm going to move on to Hankyeol. Hey, Hankyeol. You're also in Johannesburg.
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's so lovely to be here. Thank you all thank you for inviting me. So basically, I found it's hard to describe what I do because I think that somehow I got into this weird niche of becoming kind of like a Swiss Army knife. And I mean, I ended up doing a bit of directing here and there, a bit of writing here and there, a bit of cinematography here and there, a bit of editing here and there. And even this film and this teaser that we're going to see now, which is a short documentary that I worked on with Fanyana, I did both the cinematography and the editing. And the documentary that I'm working on now as well, which we've been working on, I've been working on it for the past 2.5 years. I've also been doing the cinematography and the editing for. I think it's such a very interesting space, having it makes you, I think, have a conversation with the footage and with the story and with the director, and this kind of relationship that you build with both the characters or the subjects of a documentary as well as the director. I find that really, really fascinating, and I think that ultimately that is what I'm most interested in, is in the documentary space. But yeah, the teaser, the documentary is called I Want to See for Myself, and yeah.
Foundation is not an organization for black people. Our whole aim and hope is that these courts and all the work that we undertake is going to be the benefit, and all races are going to participate together.
During apartheid years, it was not easy because there are the challenges.
The South African Lawn Tennis Union in Johannesburg is a fledgling marginal operation. Blacks are not allowed to play Davis Cup. They are not allowed to play at Ellis Park. They are not allowed to play with non-blacks at any public park.
I was the first person in my family to get a scholarship to a private school. So it was like everything was so special. Like they were like, I'm lucky, and hopefully my sisters would be lucky too.
Whenever your elbow is bent, you're not getting all the leverage you could get. You know, your arms have to be fully extended when you hit the ball. That's because you're letting the ball drop too low. All right.
Rad. Thank you. I'm going to move on. Thank you, Hankyeol. I think Julie, do you want to jump in? I think you'll be speaking to us a bit later about distribution. So would you like to just let us know who you are and where you are, or is that, what do you think?
Am I, wait, why I'm not, do you see me? Do you hear me though?
We can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I cannot put the video, sorry. You don't see my face, but I'm in London, so I'm part of Girls in Film. I'm a producer based in London. And I have somehow some links with South Africa. We did the first event when I traveled there in 2017 with you, Palesa, and yeah, so I'm helping to like set up Girls in Film in South Africa from London. I guess the idea with today, it's really to go step by step in the process of the short film making and going through the challenges and but also how like the landscape of short film is changing, knowing that before it was mainly a form to develop feature or a commercial form. But now it's like also just as like a format by itself, and there's a lot of options for distribution and actually to also make some kind of money out of it. So I'll come back later at the end of the talk to talk a bit about that and like share like what are like the new opportunities with it. Cool. So I leave you guys to it.
Thank you. So Thank you for setting this up. I'm going to jump right in. I think my first question is going to be one that is directed at the entire panel. But what I think I'd like us to do is maybe for every question that is asked, we'll get like 3 people to respond because there are a lot of us and we want to maybe keep a balance on the responses. And if you did respond in the first question or like a question just before, then maybe give a little space for someone else to respond, unless this is directly that you have direct views on the subject that's brought up. So the first question, I think for me, a good place to start is we're about to talk about how to make a short film. And I think because this question has probably been asked a lot since maybe even the advent of like video formats. There's a reason we're asking it now in 2020, in the context of what's happened during this year. But I think that maybe it will be a good place to start. Why a short film? Is it really something that the filmmakers on this panel and other artists that have contributed to the making of short films have found reasonable? Have you found it useful? And if you have, how? And why would you make an argument for the making of a short film? I'm going to direct it to just anyone, but you want to raise your hand if you maybe have like a pressing response. I don't want to pick on anyone, but maybe I should maybe direct it at someone who has offered a short film as maybe part of their offering. Like I think Talya, maybe we could start with you, and then perhaps we can, someone else can jump in. Go ahead.
Let's see why we're moving towards me. Okay, so, I mean, the first argument for a short film is, first of all, can I just say the work, everyone's work is so exquisite. It's so wonderful to see what everyone is doing, like, not only in South Africa, but in like a broader African context. And the work is like outstanding, of like a serious international caliber. So I'm really honored to like be among the names on this panel. But I think maybe the first argument for short film is that it's just more accessible than making a feature-length film. There's a growing space for short films and for consumable bite-sized content online. I mean, channels, for example, like Netflix are introducing content and films and episodes which are like 5 to 6 minutes long. I think it's a great place to begin as a filmmaker, to communicate a concept and kind of like find your feet and find your filmic language. And it's also most likely a more bite-sized approach just for yourself in terms of like, how do you communicate concepts? How do you communicate a message? You know, like, how's it possible for me? There's this thing that I want to say, and how's it possible for me to say it without the pressures of having to develop like a 20-minute or a 1 hour, 20-minute film, which is almost impossible to go straight into. Obviously people do it, but it is quite difficult. And I think one of like the most important things about like if you have a short film that you want to make is, just from like my perspective, is about being like thorough in the concept and in like how this film is actually going to come together. Because in South Africa and all over the world, it's like very difficult to get funding and to get the right people on board for a project and like to make something beautiful and to make something well. And I think if you can be really thorough, like, this is the idea, this is the crew that I need, this is exactly what the storyboard looks like. It makes it easier to approach gear houses, to approach, for example, up-and-coming DOPs, maybe actresses or musicians or, you know, whoever else is interested in being a part of the project and really selling it to them. Because it is about selling at the end of the day, like you're selling an idea, and it has to also become, it has to be like appetizing to the crew and to like whoever else is going to sponsor whatever it is. Like, why would it be in their benefit to like come on board and collaborate with you? So, yeah.
This is really great. Thank you. You've made a few points. I'm going to expand the question a little bit and ask also part of our panel
who are not necessarily directors or writers, but maybe costumers or set designers, why get involved in a short film? So maybe looking at it from that perspective, or even editor. But first, let me ask, Cait, do you agree with this? Is it really true that a short film sells? If a short film in the past was used to sell a longer film or a filmmaker, what are we doing now? What is the point of a short film truly? And is it really worth the kind of, does a short film make money? Can it make money? If it doesn't, then what is it good for?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm coming from quite a specific space because I use short filmmaking as a really pertinent part of my development process when I'm developing a feature. For me, development is probably the most important part of filmmaking. It's where the baby is conceived. I'm going to make a lot of references to like babies and pregnancy because I call myself a film doula, because producer has such like fucking negative connotations attached to it. And what I'm passionate about is really birthing something beautiful with my collaborator, who's usually a writer director. So a short, I mean, Talya kind of spoke to it a little bit already, is that it's a really low stakes, safe environment for you to find your voice, to test out ideas, to test out, what kind of cinematic language you're interested in, etc. And so I don't like to put the pressure on the shorts that I make that I need to commoditize them, that they need to sort of earn their keep and earn money, because their purpose is much greater in that they are empowering me to be able to finance a feature film, and also empowering my filmmaker collaborator to feel empowered in the story that they're telling. And that's not necessarily to say that the short is an excerpt from the feature, but it's perhaps set in the same world or dealing with similar characters or whatever. So again, you're able to experiment and to get to know yourself as a cinematic voice in a very sort of nurturing and safe, low stakes environment. But I think I also am very passionate about working with first and second time filmmakers in particular. And so financing someone's first feature is incredibly challenging. And unless you have strong previous work that is really, what's the word I want, distinct, it's almost impossible to raise a budget that is healthy enough for you to pull off what's usually really ambitious. And so the short is a really powerful way to do that. It's also a very powerful way for you to enter the world cinema space. If you're someone that wants to live and survive in this festival realm in particular, it's a wonderful way to sort of foray into that world and make a grand entrance. It's what we did with John Trengrove when we were developing The Wound. We made a short film called Ibokwe, which we shot in 2 days with 4,000 Rand. And we were fortunate enough that the work was strong enough to be selected to play in competition in Berlin. And that was instrumental in us being able to finance an ambitious feature film. So I'm a really strong believer in that. And I'm really glad that there are platforms like Mubi, for example, that are a sort of safe haven for beautiful short form work. But like I said, it's not part of my business model to expect my short films to earn money.
Tytiah, I was thinking about you as someone who is in casting and thinking about what you're saying are unseen or unheard narratives. How does the short film or the short form sort of contribute to the work that you do, and how do you contribute to it?
That's a really good question. I think for me, I'm really, really specific about the short films that I take on. So like, I'm attracted to projects that are covering a specific topic or need something really special that we don't see often. And I feel like if you're a director and you're making shorts, it's going to stand out if it's something that we're not already seeing on our screens. So from a casting perspective, I like to do shorts that are going to give an audience something new. So like with WATA, I haven't seen anything like that. That is like movement orientated, telling that kind of story. And yeah, does that answer your question?
It does, but it's got me thinking of two questions, and I think maybe that has been raised already, as the question of actually how do you, if you're not going to monetize a short film, and it is about presenting fresh ideas, it's about maybe introducing yourself as a voice, or making an argument or a point about something. If you're not going to monetize, then how do you fund what you're about to do? Where do you look, and where do you start looking? That's the first question. And the second is, how do you then make it stand out? How do you make people watch your work? Are there panels or sort of spaces for short form that really do get audiences engaged with the format in interesting ways? How do you not get lost in the noise?
From a casting perspective, I'd say cast will make your film stand out in terms of like getting lost in the noise on a platform level. That is something I can't really comment on, but I feel like my favorite films, like even like kind of like longer form films, are those that have like really fresh talent. For instance, Kids, or I'm trying to think of something else, Boys Don't Cry, like that kind of stuff, where it's like someone who's street cast, or it's like their first film, and you get this kind of like raw energy from them. And I think, yeah, American Honey is a great one. Someone just put into the chat. That kind of energy will help you get your film noticed in a different way. It's like a new face in the industry. You get to develop your skills of like directing and like working intimately with someone. And I think from a casting perspective, I'm always interested in getting new people out there that haven't been seen. So I find that really exciting.
I want to turn this into more of a conversation. So like if you want to jump in, or if there's something that's not clear, if you have a question for each other, we've got the chat, but also we can kind of talk as well. So I don't want to make it seem like it's like I'm just drilling everyone. But I think there's a logic to, I guess, what we're presenting to the attendees today, which is how do you make a short film? And now that we've maybe dealt with what kind of thing it is and why it might be useful, we will start logically at the beginning, which is where do you fund a short film? How do you fund a short film? I'm also interested in how a short film is not necessarily just a narrative film, that there are many possible iterations of this thing. So Jen, if you can jump in and talk to us about what other type of short formats you've been involved in, and Hanky, and so that we're not limiting our conversation just to like the narrative short.
Oh, okay, so we've done a lot of like music videos as well, and adverts as well, and just like anything basically. Like you were asking before, like why do a short film? Because it's fun. Sometimes you just want to tell a fun story sometimes, and it'll be cool for people to see it. I know that's why I would make a short film. Do you get what I mean? And if after that, like people are like, oh my God, it's so cool, then great, do you get? But if not, like I think it's for telling a story clearly, obviously, like something you're interested in, and you should really just have fun doing it. Do you get? You should really remember why you're doing it, and not just because of like you wanted to go here or go there. Do you get what I mean? Remember like the arts of like, I guess that's what I think, basically. Yeah. But apart from that, like music videos are a bit different because it's like we're not imitating reality from a production design perspective. So that I really like, because it's like you get to be a lot more artistic, and like sometimes, and live performances that came up in like 2020 because of COVID. So that's even cooler for like production design, because like it's like you get to like put your artists in like art installations. Do you get what I mean? So it's even like further away from like the narrative, like storytelling from a production design point of view. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's dope, because I saw what you did on Jimmy Fallon. That was so dope. That's like interactive, like that was really nice. I don't know what to call it. It was really cool. Thank you. Like
you should there's a Tiwa and Davido for the mobiles tonight. You should check it out as well. It's gonna be cool.
Dope. Is it live? We'll check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you. You were going to say something. You were going to talk about maybe multimedia work or documentary.
Yeah, I mean, I think what really attracts me to documentary work is I think that it well, maybe maybe this is inaccurate to say, but to me it feels like the purest form of collaboration. Like you're really collaborating. Like there isn't really, you can have a script, but after you've shot all of the stuff, like that script usually means nothing at the end of the day. You're collaborating with reality, with your subjects, with your director at every step of the process. And even in terms of editing, you end up collaborating with the footage, and then you end up finding archive footage or other material like for me, documentary feels like a very, very multimedia way of thinking, where you always have to be kind of flexible. And in terms of the first question that you asked, I think that documentary short filmmaking versus feature filmmaking, especially if you're kind of going on a slightly more experimental and loose form or third space kind of filmmaking, it becomes really fascinating, because I think like my experience of editing, I want to see for myself, which was 10 minutes long, versus this film that I'm on now, which I've been editing since January, which is a feature documentary film. Time, like every minute that you add onto screen time, like time just becomes so crazy and murky, and like you lose all sense of it. It's like an illusion almost. And I think that definitely as an editor, I feel that that thing that Talya was speaking about honing your craft, like your ability to understand what time is doing. As an editor, you get to definitely develop those muscles and flex those muscles a lot better, I think, in short documentary format editing than a feature film. Like I think, for example, we ended up cutting this current film, to 5.5 hours. And we've had around 8 versions, one 5-hour version, one 3.5-hour version, another completely different 3.5-hour version, a 4-hour version. And we managed to get it down to 105 minutes with the intention of adding more things to it, etc., etc. And it just goes on and on and on. But yeah.
I like how you're presenting this possibility. It seems like is it also what you're mentioning is also because perhaps the collaborators that you're working on have a little bit more flexibility. Like a feature film has like a kind of space it has to fit into, whereas a short film has all these possible spaces that it can slide into.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a little bit difficult to say, because I think this documentary that I'm working on now has had an incredible amount of flexibility versus I think most other documentary features, which is very rare, because I don't think documentary features get funded unless you have a very strong, concrete, usually it's like a social issue or an investigative story that you want to, that you have a very strong idea of how it's going to go from step one to step to the last one. But I think definitely with short films, it's like a great space to explore and experiment, especially in the documentary field, for sure.
I still don't have what I would call maybe like a satisfying or response to this idea of where you find this funding. Like who do you call in, either with resources or with money? And for those of you who have successfully been able to put together work, Hankyeol, you're talking about collaboration. And some of our panelists have come from other spaces. For like, what attracts you to a film? How do you make it so that it's worth your while? And what is that kind of value that you're able to extract from it, beyond the expression of a voice? And who do you get to help? How do you get people to help you in very practical terms?
I actually just saw Katya said that she sold her TV to make her first short film. And I actually sold my couch and then some clothes on this platform. It wasn't a Gumtree thing. It was like some other secondhand thing at the time. And you just you got to put in that time and you got to put in that work. Like, I'm just going to speak from my experience on Hush. Hush was like a 30 cast, 20 crew short film, which I know is maybe small comparatively, but for me it was quite big. And what we did is we like came up with a really thorough treatment. This is what the concept is. These are like, this is what the storyline is. This is where we want to shoot it. Like we literally recce'd the locations and said like, this is where we want to shoot it. This is who's going to help us on wardrobe. And like having to have like one-on-one meetings with makeup artists, stylists, casting directors, like, and saying to them like, this is a short film about gender-based violence that we want to make. Are you interested in helping us? This is how it can be good for you. This is a budding relationship that we could develop into the future when it comes to commercial work. And what's so great about like working with younger creatives and younger like DOPs and stylists, etc., is like we all are just so keen and hungry to make work. Like we really, really love the craft of making work. So if you go with like a really well thought out treatment and say like, it's not going to be a money job, because the Hush short film, we didn't have like a single cent to make that short film. It was literally just like the gear houses sponsored us. All the cast were happy to help us. We had like 2 different casting houses that did all the casting, you know, but it was like all in the strength of that pitch to them of us like working and collaborating and making something that belonged to all of us at the end of the day. So.
Wait, this is interesting because now I'd like to bring you in. You're like you're a designer, but you're also you've costume designed. And if somebody comes up, if somebody comes to you and says they've got an idea, what are some of the things you look to maybe make the call? Like, this is a project I'd like to be a part of. Talya is talking about there being like a hunger for, and also this interest in working together. But what would like convince you as somebody who's coming from sort of a slightly different angle and offering a very, very needed sort of element, but also usually not really taken too seriously. What attracts you to the work?
So I'll talk about it using Cait as an example. She came to me and she was like, I love your work. I instantly Googled and I was like, who is Cait? And obviously I saw like a whole portfolio of really amazing work, and then she sent me the script, and I enjoyed that she sent me the script and not like a presentation, because it was like, what do you hear? And we sat with Jeremiah, and it was such a lovely conversation where we were sharing, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I don't want anybody to come to me with an idea. I want us to share, and then it's a collaboration. If they had come to me with no money and they were like, we are looking for 11 pleated skirts, I wouldn't have done it, because it would be like, this is not interesting to me. So it was really interesting for them to say, what do you think? And for me, that's what I needed at the time. I needed to say, this is what I think. And I agree that like, eventually you sell your TV, you sell your soul. I remember in Lesotho, we were borrowing blankets from the guy that's like living 3 mountains down behind the sheep. It was, you just make it work. When you really feel passionate about something, you really just give yourself to it. And I think that's like the one thing that funds a film, just your passion. Like everybody will believe in you once they read you and they're like, okay, cool. This is something that I can give myself to. Like once, of course, you've read the story and it's a great story. That's what I think.
Ooh, I love this. Are you talking about passion being a kind of currency? I love that. Like it funds.
Yeah, I think it runs your story.
No, that's dope. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's a question from one of our attendees, just a very kind of, again, straightforward question, which is how have our, I guess, our bits of the profession been affected by COVID, and how do we approach things differently? I'd like you to please think through that question, because I think, as well as maybe speaking about our own personal experiences, we're offering a kind of step-by-step guide for somebody who might not necessarily have the facility that we maybe have gathered, etc., to start this process and to make the work. I would like to maybe direct this question also to Tytiah, and I think probably you, Jen, how you might have managed to make work that intersects sort of commercials and the music video and kind of narrative, and how's that worked, and how have you been able to get into that space? Like in work that is both visually quite interesting and also is actually about selling a product.
What you mean with COVID, like how that has changed it? Is that what you're asking?
So I'd like you to maybe all keep that question in mind to start to think about, but then also just start with this intersection of work, I'd say sort of creative work with commercial work as kind of another space that short form filmmaking can exist in.
Well, I feel like it depends, because, like, to be honest, we've done like music videos that are like with a narrative storyline. Do you get what I mean? So it depends, and we've done ads too that like trying to tell a story as well. Like we did one for like a bank, was about like autism. Do you get what I mean? So it really just depends on the project, and there's like I said before, it's a you have to weigh being able to be as creative as you want. Like he said before with the collaborations, that like that's what will draw you. Is, to be honest, for me, it's like the more able I am to be creative, the more leeway I get, the more interested I am. Do you get what I mean? Obviously, it has to be like an interesting project, but that's it. But then as the opposite, like you said, commercial work, there's really not that much creativity in there, like that you have leeway with. You get, it's very like straightforward, do this, do that. You get what I mean? So that's pretty much it with regards to production design, basically.
Tytiah, please reflect a little bit for us. How do you balance the idea of like fresh faces and street casting with maybe working with like a brand as big as Gucci, and how they might have their own idea of what a person's supposed to look like and who they're speaking to? How are you able to still make the argument that this is what people want to see, this is what will sell your product, but also allow us to do what we do, which is represent?
That is a really good question. I think with WATA, which had some funding from Gucci, from my end, they were not, like, I didn't have direct contact with them, so they weren't really involved in my process. But with Ronan and Joy, it was quite clear on the type of person they wanted to include in the project. I think, like, more generally speaking, sometimes it can be a bit of a challenge to get brands to move in like a more forward-thinking direction when it comes to cast, and especially fashion brands, because they usually have like sample sizes that people have to fit into. So like, I know for the Gucci thing, not everybody had like head to toe Gucci on. So that was like a bit of flexibility. Some of the dancers are older, some of them are super young, and that was really open just based on like how well put together Ronan and Joy's treatment was. Like, I feel like the way they approached the project made my job really, really easy. But I've been on other things where some things have been missed from like the treatment or the mood board, and then it is like me kind of trying to get the brand to be a little bit more futuristic, I want to say, with their vision, if that makes sense.
It does, but what does that mean? Does that mean like talking to people? I want to maybe get a sense of the process. Is it about making the argument through the producer? Who are you getting to understand kind of, I guess I'm asking this question because I'm speaking to you all as artists and creatives, and you've got all a point of view and a set of intentions in what you make, and you make work, I think, with the intention to express yourselves and to reach an audience. But it's also, there's also like a kind of way in which the work that we make has to interact, especially short form work, has to interact with brands and has to interact with like platforms like Nowness. I don't quite know how that works, but platforms that are kind of directed at the short form. How do you manage that? Do you have to have a strong producer, or is it because you have managed to really give your vision a kind of, you've been able to protect it through your own branding as an artist?
I think casting wise, I'm at a point now where people come to me specifically for a combination of street cast and new faces. Whereas like maybe 2 years ago, it would have been a bit more of like a push and pull with brands or clients that expected a really specific kind of like glossy thing from me. But I'd say nowadays it is a lot easier to navigate that, and it is less kind of having to convince someone to take a chance on like a new face or, I don't know, someone they wouldn't usually associate with their brand. A lot of it is to do with like imagination when it comes to like the team and how, if they can envision that person in their project or in their clothes or representing like what it is they're trying to portray.
Can I also then get us to reflect a little bit as we go through the process, the step-by-step process? We've talked a bit about funding, but not quite enough. I think on the chat, we in South Africa, we've mentioned that there are organizations like the NFVF that are directly funding, not directly funding, but funding through slates like short films and are very interested in that. We'll speak a lot more about distribution. And I think once we get a hold of what platforms might be interested in the short form, we might be able to better imagine how to fund ourselves. But you have also really basically said, sometimes you gotta sell a couch or a kidney, and that's fair. So I think that moving on from that, and the next step would be a kind of creative pre-production, the writing, the bringing in different team members and collaborators. How has that been affected by COVID? Have any of us on the panel tried to make short work in the recent months? How's that been? Anybody can jump in. I don't want to push, I don't want to point anyone.
Maybe Talya might be a good candidate to answer this one.
Yeah.
I have imposter syndrome. I feel like I'm talking too much. So I'm always writing on Medium. It's a platform where you can share like short stories and what have you. And during COVID, I was writing quite a lot, and then established DOP by the name of Dion Franzale and his partner, Adi Kunsch, is an art director. They actually just messaged me directly on Instagram, and they just said like, they have this equipment at their house and they are dying to make work. But obviously, you know, everything's come to grounding halt because of COVID. Like, do I have anything that I've written or anything that's like in the pipeline that they could possibly shoot at their house under all the restrictions? And I think like the reason that this film actually ended up happening, which you saw the excerpt of Interlude, is because we all just like put our like heart and soul into it. I mean, we hadn't like been around other people. We hadn't been working for a couple of months. This was just as we went into lockdown level 4, and I sent them a script, and like, you know, like we've been discussing, they saw the script, they really liked it. It was something that we collaborated on together, because I think you also need to like give up some of your control sometimes and like realize that every element of the team like has a better idea, or maybe like a different approach, like a different lens through which they view what the visual should look like based on like something that you've written. And you kind of have to like be vulnerable in that process, but you also have to like accept when like it's appropriate to collaborate and like make something with that group of people. And we shot it at their house over like 4 days, which is embarrassing because it's like a 2-minute short film. But we just like shot and shot and shot and shot and like put those things together. And it was also like a no budget short film. Spoke to like an editor that I knew about editing it, because I do edit, but like I had lost my objectivity completely. And then the same thing with a composer and with a voiceover artist and the colorist, and it like just came together so beautifully. And we were like also nervous to share it, and we shared it, and we actually got a Vimeo staff pick for it, which was like the most unexpected thing because it came out of this like tumultuous time. I forgot what the question was. You're on mute?
Sorry. That's cool. I think you're helping us maybe imagine how to start. And I think one of the questions that has been asked in the Q&A section is, how do you even begin? If you've got a script and you have an idea, where do you begin, and how do you gather people together, and how do you get them to want to collaborate with you? I want to maybe direct this question to Cait. Do you think as a producer, do you have what we'd say like a magic formula? Talya is talking a lot about maybe like a 2-day or at least like a short shoot, and really using what you have, like really grabbing the resources you have and choosing the right team for the film. Do you have like a magic formula or a sort of the arithmetic in your mind for what a good balance between, or at least like an idea and the cost of the idea? Like how much should a short film cost in true terms, like beyond getting people's passion and people's collaboration involved? What's the reasonable expectation?
Well, firstly, I have to say that I'm completely against any kind of formula. Each baby, each child is different and needs different things. But having said that, you know, when you're making a short, because they're so hard to commoditize, they should really cost as little as possible. If you have the luxury of having access to soft grants and to funding in your country, you know, that's great, and you should obviously apply and give yourself the best working conditions possible. But otherwise, it really comes down to, again, what Talya was saying, like what resources do we have at hand? Who has gear? Who has a location? How can we do this as humanely for the crew as possible? You know, if you're not able to pay people, you can't really expect people to work for free, and you're going to shoot for a week or 10 days, you know, eating popcorn and fresh air and making things happen with no money. You can sometimes do that for like 48 hours if people like you a lot and like your idea. But I mean, I'm shooting a short in January, and I think for me, it's also, my job is made slightly easier for 2 reasons. I work with truly amazing voices, and so getting people to buy into the vision is usually not that difficult. I'm also fucking persuasive, so that helps, I think. But it's also like, because of how I use shorts in my development process, people are also buying into a much larger, longer term vision. If I'm saying this is a stepping stone to getting this feature made, I mean, I made a short I don't know, I have no concept of time anymore, like a month or 6 weeks ago. And Nao was working on it with me. And, you know, that was a no money situation, but we shot for one day in a house, kept things really contained. And it's a stepping stone towards getting a really exciting feature film made by Fanyana, actually, Hankyeol, who you've worked with. And so that makes it a little bit easier for me that I'm able to get everyone, whether it's the gear suppliers, the post houses, or anyone that I'm sort of leveraging favors for, that this is for a much greater cause. But I think the thing with shorts is like really keep it simple, so that you can focus on, you can really hone in on whatever is most important for what you're trying to do with the work, be it performance or production design or camera language or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, that you don't try and overwhelm yourself with tackling too much. I wouldn't want to shoot more than 3 days, and then it must probably be a funded short if we're going to shoot for that amount of time. So the short I'm shooting in January, also given COVID, is 2 cast only in a house. And in the scene, they're actually, well, it's 3 casts, but the one person is on the phone. So there's not a lot of people concentrated in the location. And we can shoot it very easily, quick in 2 days. And it's very performance driven, which is important to demonstrate for the filmmaker in the process of financing the feature. But I think with any work that we create, whether it be short form, long form, music video, whatever, experimental, it's about what the intent is, like what you want the work to achieve and where you want the work to live. Because those questions should really inform every creative and logistical decision you're going to make thereafter.
That sounds like a good segue to the question of where this work is, and where the best life for it is. Is it the internet? Is it festivals? It probably depends on each project. I will ask the entire panel, in your experience, the work that you've done, specifically the shorts that you've made in whatever format, what spaces have been really ideal for them? What platforms, where have you received the most value, whatever value you consider worth kind of speaking through? But also I think it's a good time to bring Julie on, because you wanted to speak a bit more about distribution and platforms or spaces for short films.
Yeah.
Can I see you?
Hello.
There you are.
I was talking like in the dark, so
I'm in the dark. Julie, before you jump into that, I'd like maybe if I could ask Tytiah and Jen and Hankyeol, if you could maybe reflect on some of the work you've done. Like Hankyeol, you're like a multimedia artist as well, and have you found maybe that the gallery space is a good space for the work that you've made? And Tytiah, like if you make something that is, or are involved in the making of something that sits somewhere between the creative and the commercial, then where does it best sit? And for you, where would you like it to sit? Where would you like it to garner audience? And the same for Jen as well, having worked with someone as huge as Beyonce. How do you feel like that kind of positions your work? So I know I've asked a lot, so I'm going to use that as a way to kind of bring our conversation to a close. So Julie, I'm going to ask you to start first, and then I'll move on to Hankyeol and to Tytiah and to Jen.
Cool. Yeah, so talking about distribution, because I guess that's also, anyway, when you start your short film, this is also the question you need to ask yourself. Why do you want it to live? Do you want it to, like, is it a portfolio piece? Is it actually, you want to raise awareness around the subject? You want to talk about the specific subject? You want it to be a pure, portfolio piece? Or do you want it through the festival circuit to make a name for yourself and then maybe start to be in this circuit of festival to get more funding and blah blah. So I guess there's like really a lot of opportunities, and I guess if you first start with festivals, it's to ask yourself what is your film about, and because there's going to be a lot of festivals that are quite niche and specific. First, there's a lot of like short film festivals, but there are going to be a lot of like short film festivals around specific assets. Like if you're a Black director, there's going to be festivals that are specifically for Black director. If you're part of the LGBTQI community, there's going to be festivals around that. If your short film is like animation short film, there's a bunch of animation film festivals. And all festivals goes in like in Tyre, you have like the top tiers that then becomes, often there are festivals that make you eligible to be to apply to be part of like the Academy Awards or the BAFTAs or that kind of thing. So there's a whole thing. If you go through the festival circuit, you need to plan a budget as well, because that costs money to apply. The thing is, like, if you apply to festivals that are international and in Europe or in the US, let's say in the Western world, coming as a filmmaker from the continent, from the African continent, from South Africa, you might have a discount as well. So like, it's important to look at that kind of things. And yeah, it's just important you define, like, if you have, I'm going to talk in pounds because I'm based in the UK, but if you have, let's say 3,000 Rand or 2,000 or more, and then you can start doing your strategy around that. There are also companies that does strategy specifically for short film and festivals. For example, in the UK, there's a company called Festival Formula. And we had a talk with them the other day. And for example, with like £700, which is around 14,000 Rand, I think, they can do a big, kind of a really impactful festival strategy. But obviously, it's still like quite a lot of money when you make a short film and you already struggle to like have enough money to make your short film. So that's the first thing. But really, if you come from South Africa, play on that, because so many festivals gonna like give discounts or even give like full discount for the application. And also, if you manage to do an early bird application, it's like cheaper. So it's like the kind of thing to look at. And also, I would say that a lot of like national festival that you're gonna have in South Africa gonna have links with other festivals around the world. So it's also important to look at that kind of things. So that's for the festival part. And now the good thing, it's like broadcast, like Netflix or Mubi, or now doing acquisitions of short films and screening short films. So you get fees for that, and they're opening more and more. Netflix, so I don't know what's the name in South Africa, but in the UK and I think in the US is the same name. They have now a category called Black Stories, which through this curation, they have screened a lot of short film, and there was actually really good work. There's also a new platform coming from Paris that was initially, it was called the Online African Film Festival. So it was like a film festival from African filmmakers, whether from the continent or the diaspora, and it was just happening at a certain time in the year. But they decided earlier this year to make it a platform, and they call it like the Netflix for African cinema. It's called Cinewax, OAFF. I send a link to the platform, and they're really eager to get more content. Obviously, they're just starting, so they don't have like massive budget, so they cannot have 100 films like screening at once, but it's a really good platform and they're growing. So there's like all those platforms that are developing and now like screening short films. It's not like purely long feature. And then you were mentioning nowness, because even if if I talk about personally the type of short film I do, which is like WATA, for example, that I produce, so like those kind of like maybe less narrative, more experimental, or we obviously lucky in the UK to have a bunch of platforms that give opportunities to screen those films and to promote them. In South Africa, you might have less, but there's Bubble Club, and there's The Lake, there's 10 and 5, still have like options. But obviously those platforms not gonna give you money for them. But if no one bought your film and you need to promote it, that's like still a way. And you need to look, you can look at like international platform, because I mean, we are a connecting world. So it doesn't matter that you based anywhere, like, you know, it doesn't matter you're based in South Africa, you can still talk with people at Nowness, or, you know, but Nowness, if I can say, so Nowness, they're never going to give you money to screen your film. They commission, but when they commission, they give really shit money, to be really fair. It's really low money. So it's just for you to have a platform that gonna like give you a bigger reach for your work. But also the platform, there's like so much content on the platform. The tip I would give, it's like if they're really interested in your film, that you make sure that they share on their socials. Because this is like the social campaign they're gonna do around the film they screen, that's gonna give like more viewers to your film through the platform. There's that, and then there's also, in terms of more documentary content, so I don't know how it works with like news outlets in South Africa, but I know, for example, The Atlantic, which is based in the US, buy short documentaries. They buy, like, there's one I worked on, and I think they bought it for $5,000 or something like that. So they're gonna have an exclusivity for maybe 2 years or 3, or I don't know, I was not involved in the deal, but so The Atlantic is like a good, I can share the name of the person who managed that. And then The Guardian as well, but obviously it's for documentary that the subject is linked to either news or like a subject that they usually talk about, or that's like in an interest from like a wide audience. But these like are options. So it's interesting to look at those news outlets when you do documentaries, because more and more have like this like video section. So yeah, there's like all, I guess, this option. But I think obviously you really need to start by like, who is your film for? What are you talking about? How do you want it to spread? And all those kind of things, and what's like the goal with your short film. There's also impact. You can raise a lot of money, like if you do an impact strategy. So impact strategy gonna be, for example, Talya, with the film you made with Hush. If you develop kind of campaign to raise awareness, like we call impact, like you could create a campaign around that and raise funds for that, because there's a bunch of organizations that give money for impact campaigns. So it's also like, it depends what your short film talk about, but if it talk about subjects that needs to raise awareness around, and that that needs to be talked about, and to need to reach at certain communities and everything, like that is also an option. And yeah, going back a bit into funding, I think I will find the links and like share them, or like you can find list of like all the open funds internationally, because that's the same. There's so many, even if like those grants are based in other countries, you can still access them from South Africa, and there's like so many of them. It's just to know where to start looking, because it can be really overwhelming. And I guess then, you know, in South Africa, again, you have British Council, Pro Helvetia, Institut Français, all those like former colonies, institutions who have a lot of money to spend, but like they spend that money to create bridges between the country where they're from and South Africa. So for example, if you've been selected, like let's say for a film festival in Switzerland, but you don't have the money to go there, you could contact Pro Helvetia and say, listen, my film like is selected for that festival. Would you be able to help to pay for my trip to go there? So you can go to that festival and then there you can meet more people and industry people. So it's also like type of like institution to look at, I think, for fundings.
Okay. And there are a lot of different resources.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to share links now.
Yeah, thank you. Cait, you wanted to maybe talk to us about the niceties of sending your film to festivals?
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of short comments is that, I mean, I posted in the chat, but never be afraid to ask for a waiver, a fee waiver when you submit to a festival. And tied to what Julie was saying about being really strategic and going back to what I was saying around intent and where you want your film to live. If your film is a good fit for a festival and you can be really persuasive and really pointed in why this festival needs your film, why they should be screening your film, and why it is that, you know, the submission fee is a little bit out of reach for you. The worst they can say is say no, right? And then whatever, you end up you don't submit to that festival, or you somehow find the money. But oftentimes they will say yes, particularly if it's a good fit for that festival. So, you know, if you are a Black female filmmaker and you're submitting to a festival that is doing a showcase on Black female filmmakers, like, there's probably zero chance that they're going to say no to you if you ask for a waiver. This is also why a producer is handy, because we have no shame whatsoever. So the things that I ask for, you know, like, there's nothing that I won't ask for. So that's the one thing. The other thing is just to be really careful and strategic about where you choose to premiere, because a lot of festivals, particularly the top tier festivals, require either a world premiere or European premiere or a North American premiere, for example. And oftentimes, you know, people that I've mentored or whatever end up applying to every festival on the planet, and the first one that invites them, they say yes, and they've then given their you know, their European premiere away, and a couple of months later, Locarno or Venice has shown interest in the film, but it's no longer eligible. So it's very important to read those guidelines, to be absolutely 100% certain what you are giving away when you screen at a festival, and also to pit them against each other. This is something I really enjoy doing. So hopefully you get more than one invitation. Or what happened with us with This Is Not a Burial is that we got invited to Toronto, but I knew that I didn't want to premiere in Toronto. I knew that I wanted to premiere in Sundance, but Sundance's applications had not opened yet. But I wrote to Sundance and I said, yo, Toronto wants the film, so you better watch it quick and invite me now if you want me to turn it down. This was 4 months before submissions had opened. They watched it and invited the film in competition 48 hours later, and it was a rough cut. The film was still like 4 hours long. So just be really shameless about being audacious about what you ask for and believing in the work, because then people will really sit up and take you seriously.
I want to take some time. Thank you so much, all of you. Like, this has been really interesting. I think we're just warming up, actually. So it's going to be great if we can keep the conversation going amongst each other. And I think some of the people that have been attending might have reached out to some of you all as well. And I think we'll share all the resources online. I have one final question, because I want to indulge the fact that we're all sitting here together, which is very rare. And I've some of you have just like meeting for the first time. So I just want to know, I think just individually, or if you prefer not to answer, that's cool. But like, if you've made work that you're really proud of, that short that you made that you feel was either like a moment in your expression, or really taught you something, I'd really like you to reflect on your work. Like, why do you think it worked? Why do you think it was a success? What do you love about it? Where can we see it? What are you about to work on that you're very excited about? I think because I'm interested in us maybe just reflecting on our work, I think we can learn more from what each of us has experienced rather than what we've kind of abstracted as the sort of best practices. So I want to do like a little round robin, which is a bit awkward, but if you will allow me, I'm going to just go through everybody and call people out as a way to say goodbye to the conversation, if it's okay. We've got about another 10 minutes. So Hanky, I want to start with you. If you can maybe like reflect, even if it's not something that made it onto like platforms, but why was it important to you to make it?
I think, I mean, there were several questions that you asked, Palesa, throughout the festival throughout this, webinar, where I felt like I wanted to say a completely different answer, which is like filmmaking, I think for me is there aren't like these very strategic decisions that I make when I decide to go onto a film production or whatnot. This film that I'm working on in June 2018, I happened to be in Berlin and I was drinking lots of tequila and I'm feeling really sorry for myself and having a really weird relationship with Joburg when the director called me up on Skype and said like 2 sentences to me about what the film was going to be, which was just her personal mission. And I started weeping and I was like, I don't care how much money you have, which at the time was nothing. You have my support, you have whatever skills, you have my camera, you have my laptop. I will do everything that you need for this film to become a reality. And then I think only a year after that, after we had continuously worked together, did we end up getting sufficient funding to pay ourselves and to slowly take this project a lot more seriously. And I think most of the, when I look back at the projects that have really, really shone as an experience, especially for documentary filmmaking, I think it's these projects that it's like, I have an esoteric approach to it. Like it's something that you have no idea why it pulls you. And like this person is saying these beautiful, beautiful words and you can feel the tangible moment of absolute connection. And you know that it's like a marriage almost. It's like, this is somebody that I really, really just, I want to be in the film bed with, like right now for this particular project. And those relationships tend to be quite lasting. Like I think if Fanyana ever had to come to me and ask me to do something for a project, whether he had funding or not, I would immediately say yes, of course, without asking him anything, because I have absolute faith in his character, in his vision, in his work. And yeah, I mean, I think that I've been incredibly blessed to be able to have these kinds of teams where there weren't any ego battles in the film. It was like as if it was destined to be. It was from the very beginning up to the very end, this incredibly beautiful process. Yeah, so I think that's what I also seek. Like, I'm not looking for a distribution platform for my films. I'm not looking for a space where I can become a little bit more well-known in the film industry, or I'm not even looking for more opportunities to make my own films or anything like that. I just want these incredible interactions, these incredible conversations, and the act of collaborating with incredible minds.
That's beautiful. I think that's important. You're talking about that magical thing, which I think all of us are always looking for. Now, do you want to maybe reflect on something? I mean, I can only guess, but something that you feel like was really powerful for you, and why do you think it worked?
Well, I think the jobs that I always do that are the first times for me are always the most powerful. So the first ever sort of moving image I made was with Hallie and Zoe Muticha, which was me. The video is called Me. And that was very powerful for me because it was a group of us. We sat down together and we decided to do it. All of us put in all of our money. At the time, we had no money. And we just all decided. And at that point, I knew that the start is deciding to do it. It's like, yes, I will do it. And once you said yes, the world says yes to you, everything comes along. So that was my first film, and that was the film that allows me to understand what I need to make another film. Yeah.
This is reiterating the idea that you learn with everything that you do, and short films help you learn. They give you quick lessons for, so they're expensive lessons that you don't pay full price for, which is interesting for me. You don't have to wait till you have that big film to make to try things out. I love that. I love me. So it's a pleasure to actually like really meet you, and I'm looking forward to watching everybody's work again. Tytiah, do you want to maybe reflect on when you felt like you had made something, even if it was with the least amount of money, that you felt like was the beginning of this thing that you're describing, which is that everybody's coming to you now because you've made your point about who you are?
I think maybe a film that I made few years ago now called Kindred, which Julie also produced because she's amazing. And yeah, we had like no money for it. We needed real people, and I remember like literally walking down the streets, like stopping people and trying to get them on board for this film. And there was a lot of rejection in that. But there were also some people that were super interested. And I think in that moment, I really believed in the concept of the film. So like, it just gave me this, like, I just didn't give up basically. And I feel like I've applied that to so many other things since that project. And I'd say like one thing I've learned working on like anything is just to have really good, clear communication with your team, because you're collaborating and you have to like speak through things properly and just like make sure you're on the same page and that everything's like going in the right direction. I think that's like regardless of what position you're in on a production, you just have to be super clear with your intentions, expectations, and like everything in between.
I think that's awesome. That's I really feel like that's if there's anything that is just teachable and passable along is the ability to communicate. That's what like Cait is pointing to, the idea of being persuasive, getting people to buy into your project, but also to buy your project. It's just like it covers all bases, and I think that's a beautiful lesson to put forward for us. And Kindred is awesome. I really encourage everybody to check it out if it is freely available. And Talya, you mentioned the pick of the week at Vimeo. Was that a project that you feel was really like a special project for you?
I like wasn't sure, and then I heard what Nao had to say. Sorry. Oh. And then I heard what Nao had to say, and I just, can you hear me? And I just like resonated with that so much about like the idea of firsts. And it has to be the first short film, even though the subsequent ones have meant so much that like, I shot it in my living room, which was empty because like I said, I'd sold all my furniture, and I didn't even know about the process of like renting paper rolls, and just like, I like look back on it now and I shot it with a stills photographer with his stills camera. And I can barely look at it now because I'm like, oh, like the cinematography is so bad, the lighting's so bad. This is like making me want to like crawl out of my skin. But if that project hadn't happened, like all the subsequent other ones wouldn't have happened, because it like is a first stepping stone. And I think it's so easy when making a short film to get caught up on like, how do I get access to the best camera, to the best this, to the best that? Like, unfortunately, you're not going to off the bat. You're not. You got to be resourceful. Like, there are people that use like cell phones to make things, and 3 years ago they were shooting skits on their cell phones, and like now they're getting pictures, they're getting briefed on like TV commercials or on bigger projects, because you just make and make and make. And like, that was the biggest takeaway, you know, that like that passion is what's going to fund you, and just not giving up is the key. So yeah.
Yeah, also another big one is don't wait for the equipment. I suppose this is what you're saying. You've probably got more resources than you think you do. And I think I read it on the Q&As. It's not so much the quality of the project, but the kind of strength of the idea that I think like audiences and people who are watching films have become very good at picking up, because there's such a broad spectrum of what is good filmmaking now. So this is exciting. I think that's a good share that you've offered. And Jen, I'm gonna ask you to be our penultimate responder, and then Cait, you'll be our last responder, which means we'll end at about 2012, about a minute from now. And I'll thank everybody so that we don't spend too much time on the goodbyes. But Jen, like, will you reflect on something that you feel was like the moment?
So can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, so for me, it's kind of a difficult one because, like, I don't know, I guess a lot of people know the like Black is King. I guess that's the biggest one. So hey, but like for me, like it's like Lizard was the most cinematic one, so I'm really happy about that. But to be honest, I just really like creating shit. So like my favorites are the ones that like we got to like imagine, like with the director, like get the vision from the client and like.
I think we've lost you, Jen. Yeah, okay. I think we might have lost Jen, but Cait, do you wanna? Hey Jen, you back? Please come back to us.
Is it? Okay.
Cool. Jen, you mentioned Lizard, so we're gonna make sure that maybe we can share it with the attendees.
Yes. Is it? Yeah, it's better now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool.
I really liked Lizard like a lot because it's super cinematic and it was like very authentic and stuff. But to be honest, it's like I guess it's different aspects. So like Black is King was the biggest, Lizard was the most cinematic, and then these mobile awards are like the most like I just feel like super creative. I just love them. So those are my favorites.
That's dope. Congratulations. And Cait, is there something that you felt like where, I know you've probably had a lot of really magical moments, but like maybe a short project that you really felt was like a successful, and why you felt that was?
Yeah, it's so difficult when, you know, I'm mostly making features, and features are just so much longer and so much bigger and so much more intense. So that's obviously the sort of top of mind experience. But a recent example I can give is the short film. It wasn't even really a short because it's not a narrative piece. We called it a scene test. It was with a director in Joburg called Fanyana Shabangane. It's the project that Nao worked on. And he was accepted into the Sundance Directors Lab. And so as part of the lab, we needed to do a scene test. And if the world had been normal, he would have been on Robert Redford's ranch. You know, they would have brought in actors, they would have brought in equipment, and they would have played during the lab to create something. But because that wasn't possible, they gave us a pathetic amount of money to do something here at home. And so Fanyana actually wrote a scene that doesn't exist in the feature, and there's no sort of narrative structure to it. The purpose of it was really to play with mood and tone and performance. And I think we achieved that really well. And what was exciting about that experience is that, you know, it was one day of a group of people coming together to make something, but the impact that has had on his creative process now going into the rewrite of his feature draft has been hugely significant. And so I think, you know, people largely underestimate the power that shorts can have in your creative process moving forward, that they can really have longevity in that way. And the short that I'm making in January, I'm super excited about because it's very feminist. And it is about a young Black queer woman masturbating for the first time. So I'm excited to have a lot of fun with that. It's super quirky, and shorts are just like, they should be fun, right? Because the stakes are low and like everyone's there to buy into this vision and to make something beautiful. So I think it's a lot easier on a short for the vibe to be a bit lighter and for everyone to just enjoy the craft and enjoy co-creating with each other. So I'm looking forward to that in January, but also like take me back to Lesotho and give me a horse anytime. I will live in the wilderness and shit in a long drop all over again.
No, take me with you. Don't leave me when you go to Lesotho. But thank you all so very much. I think there have been some gems and there have been some really beautiful reflections. I do wish we had a bit more time and that like the scope was just as broad as it needs to be, because I think there are a lot of conversations we still need to have with each other. I appreciate all your time and all your feedback. And I actually, if possible, let's keep in touch with each other and keep this conversation perhaps going. You all have resources here in South Africa, for those of you that are not here, but also for everyone that is here, we're all here. We're all people you can reach out to. And is there anything else that Katya and Hallie would like to add, or Julie?
Just a big thank you to everybody. It's been really incredible to have you all in the same room, and also that you get to meet each other. That's incredible too. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for your beautiful work, your beautiful insights. I feel like I've learned like a year's worth of experience and insight from all of you. And I would just encourage everyone to keep in contact. Let's keep this space growing. Let's do more of this. And thank you so much for your time, really.
Yeah, I want to say thank you as well. A bunch of links have been shared. I've shared also the email address for Girls in Film South Africa. So anyone who attends, who want to connect, please do also in the Instagram. I think it's just the start of building the community in the country, and really exciting to have like physical events next year, hopefully, and stop being online. But thank you, everyone. Amazing.
And thanks to our attendees as well. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.